Facebook, like Twitter, censored the Hunter Biden laptop story after a visit from the FBI. The story broke in the final weeks, of course, before the 2020 election. Here is Zuck with Joe Rogan on his podcast talking about it.
I mean, basically, the background here is the FBI, I think, basically came to us, some folks on our team, and was like, hey, just so you know, like, you should be on high alert. There was we thought that there was a lot of Russian propaganda in the 2016 election. We have it on notice that basically there's about to be some kind of dump of that's similar to that. So just be vigilant.
Be vigilant. Okay, well, Joe Rogan did actually press Mark Zuckerberg on just how much they dialed down the story.
We just kind of thought, hey, look, if the FBI, which I still view as a legitimate institution in this country, it's a very professional law enforcement, they come to us and tell us that we need to be on guard about something, then I want to take that seriously.
Take that seriously. Is that what he did? Let's welcome in our panel to talk more about this. Attorney and Republican strategist Erin Elmore is with us. Also back with us, conservative columnist Matthew Foldy. And we are just now getting that affidavit, guys, and we're going to go through it. It's 38 pages, and we're going to get back to that in a second. But let's stay with Mark Zuckerberg in the meantime. Erin, he was asked about regrets for suppressing this story, and here's what he said.
Yeah, I mean, it sucks.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, because, it turned out after the fact, the fact checkers looked into it. No one was able to say it was false, right? So basically it had this period where it was getting list distribution. So, yeah, I mean, but I think, like, I think it sucks, though, I think in the same way that probably having to go through, like, a criminal trial but being proven innocent in the end sucks. Like, it still sucks to have like, that you had to go through a criminal trial, but at the end you're free.
So, first of all, I got to give kudos to Joe Rogan because I think Mark Zuckerberg is one of the hardest people to watch for a sustained period of time. It's just so awkward, but good job to Joe Rogan there. But yeah, it just sucks, Erin. It sucks they suppress the story. And I think what this also tells us is these guys have no control over what actually gets disseminated. I mean, they do have control, but they don't really get it, the importance of what they're suppressing.
Well, basically, is Facebook at the behest of the federal government now? That's the question. And this is a lot more than something that sucks. This completely could have impacted the 2020 election and how it turned out. So this is forever changing the trajectory of our country because now we have Joe Biden who's making all kinds of decisions. If you just look at the litany of things that he's done in these first almost 2 years here, and they've been really changing the trajectory of our country. We see massive inflation. We see empty shelves at the grocery store. We see a border crisis. Also, Zuckerberg was very involved in the 2020 election himself. They called it Zuckerbucks, to the tune of, I believe, $400 million he spent through various PACs and organizations and nonprofits to influence that election. So is he having buyer's remorse here? Is he just sort of talking to try to clean the slate for Meta? But honestly, this is a lot more terrible than he's even indicating because now we have Joe Biden and now we have a country that's in absolute disarray.
Yeah, and Matthew, the thing, we look at this, we just reported on this last week, both Twitter and Facebook have plans in place for 2020 that they say are going to cut down on misinformation, but we have zero proof that they can even do that. Regardless of what side you're on, I mean, they get played by everybody. In this case, people disseminating the misinformation, the FBI that want them to suppress certain misinformation, they get to pull the levers on what gets posted, but they're not really in control of, they don't really know what should be posted and what shouldn't be posted.
Well, that's exactly right. And I think to Erin's point, what we see going on here with Zuckerberg right now is trying to get ahead of the 2022 midterm elections where Republicans are poised to take back, obviously, the House and Senate.
I guess I give Zuckerberg credit, too, for coming clean on this stuff and at least sitting down with Joe Rogan in a long-form interview, Erin. But, when it comes to what is posted on Facebook, you have to depend on the actual publication that it comes from. You can't rely on Facebook just to push you information themselves. And I think that's a takeaway from this now. Going into 2022, we have a lot more options. We have Truth Social. We have Rumble and other things like that, Erin. That's the lesson I think everyone has to take away from this. You have to go out and actively seek the information from sources you can trust. You cannot rely on these news feeds.
But I think people don't know where to go to get that information because so many of our journalistic outlets are compromised. YouTube is compromised. Google is compromised. So it's really hard to access information. And I do believe that the left purposely pushes out air quotes, conspiracy theory ideas to sort of murky the waters to make people think, hey, these people on the right aren't credible. Look at this conspiracy theory when it's sort of part of their master plan. But this goes back to Section 230 of the Communications Decency Act, right? These people aren't operating in the way that they were intended to get the privilege of not being sued and having immunity. But why aren't people in, the House and the Senate working to change this and working to rectify this? Because something has to change. As of right now, it's all misinformation and disinformation and impossible to find good information. But if you want to know what's going on Facebook, you're going to have to ask your grandmother, because young people really aren't using Facebook anymore.
All right, so I was just given a copy of the affidavit here, and as we predicted, a lot of it looks like this. There's a lot of redacted information here, and we're just going through it. That went out after the initial raid in February, but a lot of this seems to be based on, whether or not the president had the prerogative to take some of these documents with him. He is the former president. And Erin, you're the lawyer here on this panel. I keep going back to what is a pretty well-established legal principle that the president of the United States can declassify anything he wants, whenever he wants, however he wants. And so ultimately it's going to come down to if are they going to really hold him to that? And there's 38 pages here. A lot of it is redacted, but we got to go through it to find out what exactly is in it. We're doing that now. But what do you think, Erin?
I think this is mostly a fishing expedition and a plan. That this isn't a legal analysis here. This is just a common sense one. That what they are doing right now is weaponizing the FBI and the DOJ. And what they're absolutely trying to do is prohibit President Trump from running in 2024. But I always say, be careful what you wish for, because then I believe that Governor DeSantis would step in. Not until then. That's the only way I believe he would step in. And then you're going to get people left, right, and center who like Governor DeSantis, and this is going to be an even bigger blowout. But all they're trying to do here is prohibit the president from running. But you know what? Donald Trump isn't a movement. He started a movement. The America First movement is here to stay. It has grown. We've seen candidates all over the country that share the values of pride in our country, hard work, putting each other first, and just sort of respecting this country and pick yourself up by the bootstraps. So right now, this looks like a tactic that's used in third world banana republic countries. And just like the left was very fired up about the overturning of Roe versus Wade, I think anyone, left, right, or center, unless you have Trump derangement syndrome, you think this is absolutely crazy and un-American, and it's going to push people to the polls and vote Republican.